Many of us live not in the present, but inside our heads, looping thoughts. What ifs, regrets, predictions, imagined conversations, relived arguments. This mental chatter becomes a prison. We overthink because we want control, certainty, or protection, but the irony is that overthinking robs us of clarity and peace. The book begins by showing just how deeply rooted overthinking is in modern life. We second-guess everything: our texts, decisions, schedules, even our memories. Anthony Haston doesn't shame you for this. Instead, he offers a hand, like someone who's been there too. He starts by asking a simple but powerful question. What are you actually trying to solve when you overthink? Most of the time, we don't know. We just want the discomfort to go away. But looping thoughts don't bring solutions. They bring mental exhaustion. The first insight is this: thinking is good, but overthinking is excess. Like drinking water is good, but drowning in it isn't. So how do we pull ourselves out of the storm in our minds? First, we must recognize the patterns. Most overthinking starts with a trigger, an uncomfortable emotion, a fear, an uncertainty. Instead of feeling it or naming it, we start spinning. What if this happens? What if they're mad? Did I do the right thing? Haston introduces the idea of awareness without judgment. When your thoughts begin to spiral, you say, I'm overthinking again. Not with anger, not with shame, just with quiet recognition. This builds mindfulness, a skill that creates space between you and your thoughts. He draws attention to the body's signals: tight jaw, racing heart, that subtle tension in your shoulders. The body knows before the mind does. So step one is to notice. Not fight, not fix, just notice. He then explores a powerful truth. Most of our worries are fictional. They're imagined futures, not present facts. We anticipate rejection, failure, awkwardness, but most of the time, those things never happen. Haston uses studies and real-life examples to show that over 85% of what we worry about doesn't come true. And of the small percentage that does, we often handle it better than we imagined. So what's the cost of overthinking? Sleep loss? Missed opportunities? Emotional fatigue? Strained relationships? This cost is invisible, but accumulates fast. And here's where the book gets practical. Haston offers a mental filter, a question to ask yourself every time you catch yourself spinning. Is this useful? If the answer is no, it's time to let the thought go. Not suppress it, not shove it away, just shift focus. This is different from toxic positivity. He's not saying ignore your problems. He's saying deal with what's real, not what's hypothetical. You may still have that uncomfortable conversation, but you won't have it 100 times in your mind first. He discusses the role of perfectionism in overthinking.
Many overthinkers want to get it right, to be flawless, to avoid mistakes. But perfection is a trap. It keeps you stuck in preparation mode, never taking action. Haston reframes mistakes as feedback, not failure. The more you move, the clearer your path becomes. And inaction, waiting for the perfect moment, only feeds anxiety. He then introduces the concept of mental minimalism. Just like you declutter a closet, you can declutter your mind. That means setting boundaries with technology, practicing intentional stillness, and scheduling worry time. Yes, you read that right. He recommends giving yourself a 10-minute window each day to worry on purpose. Strangely, this technique works, because when your mind knows it has space to worry later, it stops hijacking the present. This kind of cognitive discipline is gentle but powerful. Over time, you train your brain to stay here, now. Haston also explains that overthinking is often fueled by fear of the unknown. So instead of resisting uncertainty, he encourages embracing it. Think of your life like a foggy path. You won't see the end, but if you keep walking, the road reveals itself. He urges readers to take small actions, even if they're imperfect. Clarity comes from movement, not thought. You can't think your way into a peaceful life. You have to live your way into it. He touches on mindfulness and meditation not as mystical practices, but as simple tools to interrupt the mental chaos. Even just a few deep breaths can pull you out of the storm. He shares techniques like labeling your thoughts. That's a worry. That's a prediction. That's a memory. This creates distance between you and the thought. It reminds you, I am not my thoughts. From this place, peace becomes possible. But Heston knows this takes practice, so he recommends journaling, not pages of analysis, but short, focused prompts like, what am I really afraid of right now? Or what outcome am I trying to control? These questions pierce through the fog. He also suggests surrounding yourself with calm voices, whether people, books, or environments. Your mental diet matters. Chaos in, chaos out. Finally, he returns to the heart of it all, self-trust. Overthinking is often a symptom of not trusting yourself. You second-guess because you believe you'll mess up. But what if you believed you could handle whatever comes? Heston asks you to build that trust slowly. Keep promises to yourself. Make decisions faster. Reflect kindly. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to believe you can navigate as you go. This first section of the book isn't about hacks or quick fixes. It's a mindset shift, a deep breath, a reminder that peace isn't found in perfect thinking. It's found in stepping out of the mind and into life. And that's where this journey begins, not in silencing your mind, but in befriending it.
In the second part of the book, Anthony Hexton gently walks us deeper into the roots of overthinking by exposing one of its most deceptive fuels, procrastination. While many think of procrastination as laziness, Hexton argues it's often the opposite. It's fear dressed in productivity's clothing. You delay the call not because you're careless, but because you imagine every possible way it could go wrong. You put off launching the project because you picture failure vividly and success vaguely. Procrastination is overthinking in disguise. To break it, Hexton explains, you need to act before your mind can build the mental wall. He introduces what he calls the 2-minute bridge, a technique where you promise to engage in the task for just 2 minutes. It's enough to start momentum and often leads to full engagement. You don't overthink brushing your teeth or putting on shoes because they're habits, not decisions. And the goal, he says, is to make action a habit. The mind resists what feels big, so shrinking tasks disarms that resistance. But beyond procrastination, Hexton dives into the emotional weight overthinkers carry. He explains that rumination is often linked to unresolved emotional wounds, moments of shame, betrayal, rejection, that replay in our minds like broken records. We imagine redoing those moments, saying what we didn't say, preventing what happened. But the truth is, mental time travel doesn't heal the past. Acceptance does. He suggests a simple practice. Whenever you revisit a painful memory, close your eyes and imagine embracing that past version of yourself. Say the words they needed to hear. Offer compassion. You cannot change what happened, but you can stop punishing yourself with it. He also uncovers how overthinking thrives in isolation. When we stay silent about our mental noise, it grows louder. Sharing our worries with someone we trust without needing solutions can reduce their intensity. Just being heard can take the sharp edge off an anxious loop. So community becomes medicine. He even talks about the trap of the what-if game. What if I said the wrong thing? What if they judge me? What if I fail? But Hexton invites a flip. What if it works out? What if they like you? What if this is the beginning of something good? Our brains are wired for negativity. It's how we survived as a species, but we're no longer living in constant threat. so it's time to retrain the mind. One way he suggests is through visualization, not of perfect outcomes, but of resilience. Picture yourself facing uncertainty calmly. Imagine navigating mistakes with grace. This builds what he calls emotional rehearsal. You become familiar with peace. And the mind, once familiar with peace, seeks it more often. He also warns about the addiction to analysis. Many overthinkers believe more data, more reflection, more input will eventually lead to clarity. But the clarity we seek often comes from committing, not calculating. Sometimes the wisest decision is simply choosing and adjusting along the way.
Heston describes how indecision is like standing in front of a door trying to calculate what's behind every option. But no matter how much you think, you won't know until you walk through one. So choose. Risk is part of living. Waiting for certainty is waiting forever. He also goes deeper into body-mind practices. Movement, he says, is an antidote to mental stagnation. A short walk, a stretch, a few deep breaths, all of these shift brain chemistry. They don't solve the problem, but break the loop. When your body moves, your mind unsticks. He brings up the importance of sleep, too. Overthinking thrives in sleep-deprived brains. When you're tired, your emotional regulation crashes. You're more reactive, more anxious, less rational. So protecting your rest is not indulgence, it's strategy. A good night's sleep can shrink a mountain of worry into a pebble of concern. Heston recommends sleep rituals, screen-free wind-downs, dim lighting, even a warm shower before bed to train the mind that night is a time to release, not rehearse. He then touches on the comparison trap. Overthinking often begins when we measure our lives against others. Social media, with its polished highlight reels, fuels this. We see people's victories and wonder why we're still stuck. But Heston reminds us, every mind has its battles. What you're envying may be wrapped in unseen pain, and your timeline is not supposed to match anyone else's. He encourages readers to replace comparison with curiosity. Instead of, "Why don't I have that?" ask, "What matters most to me?" This shifts the energy from scarcity to intention. Then comes the critical insight. Overthinking is often a form of control. You believe if you just think long enough, you'll prevent bad things from happening. But Heston breaks that illusion. Control is not peace. Flexibility is. He encourages a practice he calls daily surrender, a short moment each morning to acknowledge that not everything is yours to hold. You set intentions, you take action, and then you let go of the outcomes. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Like a skilled sailor who can't control the wind but can always adjust the sails. Finally, he touches on identity. Many of us believe we're just overthinkers, as if it's a fixed trait. But identity is flexible. The moment you say, "I am learning to think clearly," instead of, "I overthink everything," you start to rewrite the narrative. Heston reminds us that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, is real. With new habits, new language, and new focus, you can sculpt a new mental default. The brain is always listening. Speak to it with hope. This second part of the book is both gentle and firm. It doesn't promise a switch you can flip. It offers tools, perspectives, and practices that compound. Like drops filling a glass, every small choice adds up. The goal isn't to eliminate all thoughts. It's to live with them peacefully, to think with clarity, to act with courage, and to rest without guilt. And that peace, it's closer than you think.
In this third part, Anthony Heston transitions from understanding and identifying overthinking to interrupting it, catching the loops mid-spin before they spiral. He introduces the concept of mental bookmarks, a technique where you name the loop as it starts, literally giving it a label. For example, if you begin replaying a past mistake, you whisper to yourself, "That's a regret loop." If your mind jumps to all the things that could go wrong, call it catastrophizing. Labeling creates separation. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You're the observer of them. This simple step interrupts the emotional momentum. It's like tapping the brakes on a runaway train. And once you've named it, Heston encourages gently redirecting your attention, not by suppressing the thought, but by offering your mind something better to hold. He emphasizes the role of attention as a limited resource. What you water grows. If you feed a thought with time and emotion, it expands. But if you turn your focus to something tangible, your breath, your surroundings, a single task, you reclaim control. He suggests practicing this redirection throughout the day, not only in moments of stress. Over time, your brain learns that not every thought deserves engagement. Heston also explores thought stacking, where one worry leads to another, and soon a minor concern becomes an existential crisis. For instance, forgetting to reply to a message spirals into "they'll think I'm rude," which becomes "I'm losing relationships," and finally, "I'll end up alone." This is how the mind works when left unchecked. Heston teaches readers to pause after the first layer, challenge it there. Ask, what else could be true? Is there another way to interpret this? Could this be less about me and more about timing or context? Cognitive flexibility, he says, is the antidote to thought stacking. And flexibility is built through curiosity. Instead of locking into one interpretation, you explore options. It's not about being naive, it's about not assuming the worst by default. Then comes one of the book's most powerful sections, the relationship between overthinking and perfectionism. Heston reveals how many overthinkers use high standards to mask fear. You delay finishing the presentation because it's not quite right. You don't send the message because the wording isn't perfect. But perfection is a moving target. You never arrive, you just circle the airport, never landing. He invites readers to redefine success as completion, not flawlessness. Done is better than perfect. Shared is better than polished. The courage to be seen in your imperfection is the foundation of peace. He shares stories of artists, entrepreneurs, and thinkers who moved forward despite the chaos in their minds, and how clarity often came after action, not before. Heston also shares a series of mental check-ins that can be practiced in under 2 minutes. These are designed to bring your awareness back to the present. For instance, look around the room and name 5 things you can see. Take a deep breath and count to 4 on the inhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Rub your thumb and forefinger together and feel the texture of your skin.
These small anchors help remind the brain we're not in the past or the future, we're here. And most of the pain we feel is from time travel in our minds. Bringing attention back to the body grounds us. In another vital section, Heston discusses the fear of judgment, a huge driver of overthinking. We replay conversations, imagine how others perceive us, and craft responses to criticisms that were never spoken. But he offers this. Most people are thinking about themselves, not you. And those who judge harshly are often projecting their own fears. He encourages radical acceptance that not everyone will understand you, agree with you, or even like you. And that's okay. The goal is not to be universally approved. The goal is to be internally aligned. When your actions match your values, peace follows. He brings in the idea of mental hygiene, comparing the mind to the body. Just as you don't shower once and stay clean forever, you don't meditate once and stay calm. Just as you don't eat one healthy meal and become fit, you don't think one positive thought and transform. It's a practice, and that means forgiving yourself for bad days. It means not expecting perfection from your mental habits. Progress is messy. Healing is non-linear. The important thing is returning again and again to the practices that serve you. One of his most helpful metaphors is treating thoughts like clouds in the sky. You don't chase them, grab them, or panic when they appear. You just let them float. If you notice a dark cloud, acknowledge it, but don't build a home under it. Wait, watch. It will pass. This imagery is simple but powerful. It helps you loosen your grip. Heston also revisits the importance of routines.
Morning and evening rituals act like bookends for your mind. In the morning, instead of diving into chaos, you start with stillness. A few quiet minutes, a note of gratitude, a focused intention. In the evening, you disconnect from stimulation and allow the mind to slow down. These rituals don't need to be complex. The key is consistency. Repetition builds familiarity, familiarity builds safety, and the anxious brain needs to feel safe. Finally, this part of the book touches on the role of self-talk. The words you speak to yourself matter more than anything anyone else says. Heston encourages readers to start noticing the tone of their inner voice. Is it harsh? Is it dismissive? Is it anxious? And then to ask, would I speak this way to a friend I love? If not, change the script. Speak with kindness, encourage yourself, remind yourself that effort counts, that mistakes are lessons, that growth is already happening. This practice doesn't eliminate overthinking, but it softens its edge. It creates a space inside you that feels like home, a place you can return to when the world outside is too loud. In this third part, Heston continues to offer clarity, compassion, and tangible tools. His voice is steady, reassuring. He doesn't sell fantasy, he offers possibility. That peace isn't the absence of thought, it's the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your attention. And that ability? It's already within you, waiting to be practiced, one moment at a time.
In this fourth part, Heston shifts the focus from internal management to external influence, guiding readers through the environments and habits that either fuel or calm the overthinking mind. He begins with the space around us, our physical environment, and how cluttered surroundings often mirror cluttered thoughts. He emphasizes that simplicity is not about minimalism as a trend, but about intentionality. When you reduce visual noise, you reduce cognitive load. He recommends curating your space in a way that soothes you, not necessarily clean in a magazine cover sense, but one where everything has purpose and contributes to calm. A plant on your desk, warm lighting, a tidy bed. These little shifts anchor your nervous system. Next, he explores digital hygiene. Our devices are extensions of our minds, he says, and when they're constantly buzzing, beeping, and flashing, they pull us into reaction mode. The average person checks their phone over 100 times a day, not out of necessity, but out of compulsion. This creates micro loops of thought. What did I miss? Who messaged me? Am I falling behind? Heston suggests scheduled phone checks, grayscale settings, and app boundaries. Not to be puritanical, but to create intentional use. You reclaim time and reduce overstimulation. He explains that overthinking thrives in overstimulation because the mind has too many inputs and no time to digest. Then he unpacks the influence of people. Some relationships are calming, grounding, and expansive. Others are critical, chaotic, or anxiety-inducing. He doesn't suggest cutting people off at the first sign of negativity, but urges readers to be aware of how they feel after interacting with someone. Energized or drained? Empowered or insecure? Overthinkers often internalize others' moods and make them their responsibility. Heston emphasizes boundaries, not just physical, but emotional. You are not the fixer of everyone's problems. You can be compassionate without being consumed. One of the most powerful sections of this part is about comparison. Heston explains that comparing is natural. The brain evolved to assess threats and hierarchies, but in a hyper-connected world, we are bombarded with curated lives. Social media becomes a breeding ground for inadequacy. He offers this simple reframing. Their timeline is not your blueprint. Someone else's highlight reel should not make you question your pace. He encourages journaling accomplishments, affirming progress, and unfollowing sources that trigger self-doubt. You can curate what you consume the same way you curate your physical space. Then he talks about scheduling worry, Yes, scheduling it. Overthinkers often try to suppress worry, which ironically makes it more persistent. Heston suggests giving yourself a daily 10-minute worry window where you sit down and allow all the thoughts to come out. You write them down, no censoring, no fixing, just acknowledgement. This container gives the brain relief because it knows it will be heard. Outside that window, when worries arise, you gently tell yourself, "Not now, you'll be heard later."
Over time, this conditions the mind to stop intruding constantly. He also introduces the idea of mental fasting, a short period each day where you do nothing. Not meditate, not journal, just sit. No phone, no music, no podcast, just presence. At first, it's deeply uncomfortable because the mind panics without a task. But within that stillness, something shifts. Thoughts rise and pass. Emotions unfold and settle. And in that simplicity, you begin to remember who you are beneath the noise. Heston shares stories of people who found clarity not through more input, but through space. Then he shifts into identity. Often we say, "I am an overthinker," as if it's a fixed trait. But identity is shaped by repetition. The more you practice presence, redirection, and boundary setting, the more your brain rewires. You begin to embody a new role, not of someone trapped in thought, but of someone observing, guiding, and choosing. He uses the metaphor of a captain steering a ship. The sea may rage, but you control the wheel. You don't have to identify with every wave. And this becomes the core theme of this part: choice. You may not choose every thought that arises, but you choose whether to feed it. You choose what you focus on. You choose the tone of your inner voice. You choose your habits. And in those small, daily choices, freedom is born. Heston also speaks about momentum. Progress feels slow at first, but he compares it to water carving stone. You might not see a result today or tomorrow, but if you continue gently, patiently, consistently, transformation becomes inevitable. And when setbacks happen, which they will, it's not failure, it's an invitation to return. He writes, "Peace is not a final destination. It's a place you visit more often with practice." He closes this section with a series of gentle reminders. Your mind is not broken. Your thoughts are not dangerous. You are not alone. There is nothing wrong with you for thinking deeply. But you deserve rest. You deserve quiet. You deserve to live in your body, in this moment, not constantly in a story of what could have been or might be. And that journey, it's worth taking. One breath, one boundary, one redirection at a time. In this next part, the narrative deepens into how overthinking doesn't just exist in isolated thoughts. It becomes a filter through which you interpret the world. Heston explains that chronic overthinking often creates something he calls a cognitive lens of fear. Every decision, every interaction, every moment becomes wrapped in a subtle thread of anxiety. What if I mess up? What if they misunderstand me? What if this doesn't work out? And the problem with a fear-based lens is that it doesn't just distort what you see, it shapes what you expect. You start anticipating problems that don't exist yet. Heston compares it to walking through a sunny meadow but wearing dark glasses. The light is still there, but it doesn't feel like it. This leads him into one of the most powerful sections of the book, how to change the lens. You don't do it with blind positivity. You do it with curiosity. When a fearful thought arises, like, "What if I fail?" you pause and ask, "What else could be true?" You don't need to lie to yourself. You just need to create space for alternatives. Maybe you succeed. Maybe you learn. Maybe it's not as binary as fail or win. This simple mental move breaks the automatic spiral. Then he brings in the role of embodiment, how our body and mind are in constant dialogue. Most overthinkers live in their heads, and as a result, they disconnect from the signals of their body. Tension builds in the shoulders, jaw, or gut,
but goes unnoticed until it becomes physical exhaustion. Heston suggests body scans, grounding techniques, and somatic check-ins, not as fluffy rituals, but as anchors to reality. When you return to your body, you return to the present. He introduces breath work not as an abstract practice, but as a tool. Slow, deep breathing with longer exhales activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calm response. Just 5 minutes a day can shift your baseline anxiety and give you back control. He also dives into the way overthinkers often over-explain. In relationships, they replay conversations, reword texts, try to manage every possible interpretation. He gently points out that this is rooted in a deep fear of being misunderstood or rejected. But the truth is, clarity doesn't always come from more words.